the YAHAHA Essentials Tutorial Series. My name is Chris, or you may know me better online as Chulu Longhorn. I'm here with YAHAHA doing these tutorials to show you how to set up the basics in your space. Today, I'll be discussing the Revolve component. You can use the Revolve component to add swinging objects that block or redirect the player in your space, or to force them to solve problems as they navigate around. It's October, fall has fallen, and it's getting colder. So for this tutorial, I'm using the Snow Forest Park template to demonstrate ways we can use the Revolve component. Revolve is similar to Rotate, but it allows you to revolve an object around another point instead of the center axis of the object. You can check out more about the Rotate component in the Rotate tutorial. For now, let's start with the revolving door asset. We're going to place it here near the tunnel, so the player has something to go through to get to the tunnel, because it's always good to give the player something to do, even if it's going through unnecessary doors. This asset has both the Revolve component and the Rotate component. With Rotate activated, the door opens like a swinging door. This is required to get a door which behaves this way. For now, let's deactivate Rotate so that the door only revolves and see what happens. As you can see, the door now revolves around the revolve point, but no longer swings like it's on a hinge. That is because the Revolve component only translates an object around a point. It doesn't change the object's rotation values, which is what the Rotate component does. To manipulate door movement, you can adjust the rotate point and the angle. Let's see what happens when we set the rotate point to -2, 0, 0, and change the angle to 80. Okay, the door sort of shifts position in a tighter arc, which is not what we're looking for. I think this would only work if you had a round room. If we turn Rotate back on and change the angle to 80 so that it matches the Revolve angle, the asset will now swing like it's on a door hinge, even though there's no hinge there. Okay, just imagine there is. And boom! We have an opening door. Now, let's play with the swing hammer asset. I like hammers. We can use the swing hammer in a tight space to knock the player around. I'm going to place it here at the end of the tunnel as an obstacle for the player. Again, we can see the Rotate component is paired with the Revolve component to get the asset swinging as if it were on a hinge. With the Rotate component off, we get the hammer sort of swooping instead of swinging, which is different and interesting. Let's make sure the hammer swoops across the exit, forcing the player to deal with the obstacle. Moving the Z rotate point to 3.75 and positioning the hammer like this should do the job. Okay. If we put the Z rotate point back to 0, activate Rotate, and tilt the hammer -30 degrees in X, we get the hammer to swing like a pendulum across the tunnel's exit. Now we've created the classic platformer obstacle for the player to navigate. And when they're not paying attention, we get to knock the player around, which is always fun. These are just a few of the ways the Revolve component can add character to your spaces. I suggest checking out both of these assets further and playing around with the various components they contain, both separately and in combination, to see how they work together to give us different types of gameplay. Now, let's explore how we can use the Revolve component to build gameplay in our spaces by adding it to an object and manipulating its settings. Let's create a bridge obstacle, like we did in the Rotate tutorial. This will give us a chance to work with the Revolve component alone and see what it can do. Now we add the Revolve component to the in-between section of the bridge, which will become our crossing platform. Let's set the rotate point to be 0, 0, 5.5, set the time to be 7, and set the looping mode rotation number to be infinite times. As you can see, this swings the crossing platform around through both gaps, allowing the player to use it to cross the gaps in the bridge in several ways. If we shift the Revolve axis to X now, we get the same motion in the different direction, changing the challenge to the player. Variety is the spice of life, after all, and the spice of interactive design. Okay, let's make some major changes. Let's set the axis back to Y, change the type to arc, switch the direction to anti-clockwise, and make the angle 180. Now the platform will swing through the trees, making it difficult for the player to ride it, and forcing them to use it as a crossing at each gap. Finally, let's set the axis back to X and change the looping mode type to two-way. This will cause the platform to move between both gaps back and forth, again, opening up options for the player in completing the obstacle. Of course, if they take the simple path and choose to ride the platform underneath, you can always punish them for taking the easy way. I did say it was October, didn't I? As you can see, the Revolve component is a useful component which can be used in your spaces both to add simple interactivity and to create obstacles to challenge even the most seasoned platform players. That's all for this tutorial, but we have several more elements to cover, so don't forget to like and subscribe so you can be notified when we post more YAHAHA Essentials tutorials. Also, be sure to visit us on Discord and in the forums to discuss space creation. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you all again soon.